The tavern door swung wide with a creak, and Caleb Thornton shuffled in, his boots scuffing the weathered planks, spurs jingling soft like a whisper. The rusty Spur Tavern in Willow Bend reeked of tobacco, bourbon, and toil. Yet the crowd, they roared with life well past the witching hour. The clink of poker chips, bursts of laughter, they cut through the thick, smoky air as Caleb blinked, his vision hazy. At 1-9, Caleb stood tall, wiry, a rancher who turned heads, earned nods. But tonight, bourbon dulled his keen green eyes, dust clung to his worn jacket, and his sandy hair spilled messily from under a tattered hat. He was every inch the weary wanderer, though. A spark of rugged allure still flickered beneath the grime. "Caleb," Ben Carver hollered from a shadowed corner table. Get yourself over here. We need new blood in this game." Caleb wobbled, his hand gripping the bar to steady himself. He'd been drinking since dusk, chasing away the solitude that dogged him like a stray. No matter how many cattle he herded, how many jobs he took, the ache lingered. With his last $15 tucked in his pocket, pride, it nudged him toward that table. Sly Jack Malone, a gambler with a steely gaze, smirked as Caleb sank into a seat. "Well, look who it is, Caleb Thornton," he drawled slow. "You sure those eyes can still read the cards, cowboy?" "I can see plenty clear." "To take your cash," Caleb fired back, his words slurring just a touch. The game kicked off, and, for a spell, the cards favored him. His stack of bills grew, his confidence it surged. Bourbon made him bold, and luck, well, it seemed to wink at him. But as the night dragged on, his pile it dwindled. By 2 a.m., he'd lost it all wages. Saddle, even his mare. Sly Jack leaned in, eyes gleaming. "One last hand, Thornton. I'll front you 100, winner takes it all." Caleb's gut screamed to walk away, but bourbon and stubbornness, they silenced it. What the trick? "No trick," Jack purred. "Just one rule. You lose, you do what I say. One task, no fuss." Laughter rippled around the table. Caleb paused, his breath catching, then nodded. "Deal." The crowd leaned in as the cards fell. Caleb pulled a full house eights over Jack. His pulse raced as he slapped it down, but Jack's cold chuckle, it sliced the air. He laid out 4 aces. "You're done, cowboy." The blood drained from Caleb's face, his stomach twisting. Jack lit a cigarette, grinning. "About that task, you're marrying Widow Ellis, Clara Ellis, by week's end." The tavern erupted with jeer. Clara Ellis, known across the county, a striking young woman, widowed after a ranch accident 9 months back. Fierce, reserved, unyielding. She was the last person anyone pictured a roughneck cowboy like Caleb marrying. You were out of your mind," Caleb growled, voice shaking. "Dead set," Jack replied, smooth as silk. "Back out, and you'll be a laughingstock across Willow Bend. A man's word, it's everything, Thornton. Or maybe you'd rather ride out of town for good." Ezra Hawthorne, the town's banker, sneered from the sideline. "I hold the deed to her land. She weds you, or I take it. Papers, they are drawn." Caleb stumbled into the chilly dawn, a crowd's laughter. It rang in his ears. He'd been played, ruined by a drunken bet. Worse, his folly would drag an innocent woman down with him. 3 days later he stood rigid, sober, in the small chapel on the edge of town, every pew brimmed with gawkers, eager for the farce of the season. The doors groaned open, and Clara Ellis, she stepped in. Caleb's breath, it hitched. Up close, her beauty was arresting. A plain gray dress, neatly patched, her dark hair swept up, but her eyes, deep hazel, they burned with defiance and pride. "I am sorry," Caleb murmured as she reached the altar. "Save it," she said sharp. "We both know what this is. Let's just do it." Reverend Holt rushed through the vows, his unease plain. When he called for objections, the church roared with laughter. Clara's jaw clenched, but she stood taller. Caleb felt a flicker of awe at her resilience. As they walked the aisle, the crowd's mockery swelled, but Caleb leaned close, whispering. A cowboy lost a bet, forced to wed a fierce beauty. But maybe the game's not over. Her eyes darted to his, searching for jest. Finding none, she gave a faint nod. That night they rode to Caleb's rough shack, 5 miles out. It was sparse, a cot, a stove, a rickety table. Clara stood in the doorway, her poise unshaken. "It ain't much," Caleb said, setting a lantern down. "I've seen rougher," she replied, placing her small satchel on the floor. Her voice was steady, but her shoulders, they were taut. Caleb tried to ease the tension. Take the cot. I'll bed down by the stove. No, she said firm. If you do, they'll talk. They were waiting for us to crumble. I won, T. Give them that. Caleb saw the steel in her, the same strength that carried her through loss and hardship. She was frail. She was tougher than most men he'd met. In the lantern's glow, Clara spread out a quilt, its vibrant patterns, woven with care, a legacy from her grandmother. Caleb admired it. That's fine stitching. You make it. She glanced at him, surprised. My grandmother, she taught me. Her voice softened just for a moment. Caleb lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling beams while Clara settled on the cot. In the quiet, she spoke softly. This marriage, it may be forced, but I won, be broken. I hear you, Caleb said quick. Maybe the game is not done. Maybe we can keep our pride. The words hung like a quiet pat. Outside, the Montana wind wailed across the plains. Inside the small shack, two strangers lay awake, tied by fate, pride, and a cruel wager, unsure of what dawn would bring. Morning light slipped through the wall-ass cracks. Caleb woke to the scent of coffee and cornbread. Clara was already up, tending the fire, her movements sure, steady. You did, have to cook? Caleb said, sitting up. I pull my weight, she replied, not turning. I am no one's burden. Her words hit hard, not for their edge, but for the quiet dignity in them. Caleb saw she was determined to stand equal, never pitied. They ate in silence at the wobbly table. When Caleb suggested a trip to town for supplies, Clara tensed. I've got what I need. No, Caleb said firm. You're my wife now, at least on paper. What's mine is yours. You will have what you need. Her eyes studied him, gauging his sincerity. Finally, she nodded. They rode into Willow Bend side by side, Caleb on his chestnut gelding, Clara on a steady mare. She sat tall, graceful, her dark hair gleaming in the sun. Caleb stole glances, struck by how natural she looked in the saddle. In town, eyes followed them. Men muttered, women whispered, kids gawked. At Baxter's general store, Mrs. Baxter greeted them with a tight smile. Well, Mr. Thornton, she said coolly, quite the surprise, you and your wife. Morning, Mrs. Baxter, Caleb replied. Even we're here for supplies. The stairs sharpened inside. Caleb ignored them, guiding Clara to the fabric aisle. Pick what you need, winter is close. Clara hesitated until Mrs. Abigail Foster, wife of Caleb's boss, approached with a warm smile. That muslin it won hold up, she said kindly. This green wool will sturdy warm. Take it, dear. Thank you, Clara said, softened by the gesture. You are welcome, Mrs. Thornton, Mrs. Foster replied, warm. The words hit Caleb as much as Clara. For the first time, someone had shown her respect. They finished shopping, though not without trouble. The grocer shorted them on flour, claiming it was reserved. The feed store clerk grumbled about Hawthorne's orders. At the bank, Ezra Hawthorne himself sauntered out, his smile venomous. The happy couple, he drawled loud, settling in, I trust. Caleb's fist tightened, but Clara's calm hand on his arm stopped him. She met Hawthorne's gaze. Quite settled, thank you. Disappointment, it must sting. Hawthorne's smirk faltered. The crowd buzzed. Caleb grinned as they left. That was sharp. Men like him, they thrive on fear, she said. Dignity, it cuts deeper. The ride home was quiet but easy. Caleb kept glancing at her. She was the shame Jack had intended. She was something else entirely. That night, Clara spread her quilt again, its colors bright against the shack as rough walls. Caleb stared. Your grandmother, she raised you strong, he said softly. Clara paused, then nodded. She did, and I'll stay that way. 2 weeks later, trouble came. Caleb woke to hoofbeats in the dark. He grabbed his rifle, peered out. 6 riders circled the shack, shouting, Thornton, we know you've got prime stock in that barn. Come out, or we burn it down. Caleb's jaw tightened. One warning, get off my land. The riders laughed. Maybe I'll take your lady, too. See if she is as fiery as they say. Before Caleb could reply, Clara's shotgun roared, one rider clutching his arm in pain. Next one, through your chest. She called, her voice like iron. I've a buried one man. Don push me. The riders cursed, circling wider. To splashed kerosene on the barn. Caleb's heart sank, his livelihood at stake. "Keep him talking," he whispered to Clara. She nodded, reloading, smooth as ever, as Caleb slipped out back. In the shadows, he took down a rider guarding their horses, snatching his revolver. Now double-armed, he crept toward the barn. The thieves did see him until he fired, winging one in the knee. Another raised his hands. Then rumble shook the air. A dust cloud loomed, glowing red in the dawn. Dust storm. A rider yelled. The thieves scrambled, fleeing into the choking haze. Caleb sprinted back, slamming the door as the storm hit. The world vanished in a gritty roar. The shack groaned, dust seeping through every crack. Caleb pulled Clara close, shielding her as the wind screamed. Hours later, the storm passed, leaving the land buried in sand. They stumbled out, finding the barn intact, the animals safe. Exhausted, they sank onto the porch steps. "You were fearless," Caleb said, quietly. Clara gave a small smile. "I told you, I am no victim. I survive." Caleb looked at her really, looked and felt something new stir. Respect, admiration, maybe more. The storm scarred the land, but Caleb and Clara worked together to mend it. Neighbors pitched in, fixing fences, clearing wells. Word spread of their stand. Clara's bravery whispered with awe. But trouble lingered. Gideon Vance, a ruthless cattle baron, wanted Clara's land for its creek. Shops turned them away. Loans tightened, neighbors faced threats. "We'll starve by spring," Caleb muttered, eyeing bare shelves. "Then we won face it alone," Clara said firmly. "We'll rally those Vances wronged. Together we are stronger." Her idea sparked the Willow Valley Alliance. Families, Swedish, Italian, Mexican, Scots, they met in barns, vowing to stand united. For the first time, Caleb felt they weren't just scraping by. They were fighting with purpose. Vance hit harder. Fences slashed. A neighbor's son, beaten, left limping. Caleb gripped his rifle, but Clara stopped him. "Violence, it's his game," she said. "We fight with unity and law." They gathered proof, kept records, sent word to papers and attorneys. Clara's meticulous notes, her bold speeches, they gave the alliance its spine. Caleb watched her become a leader, inspiring all. One night by the fire, Caleb spoke what burned in his heart. "Clara, I thought that bet it was my ruin, but losing it, it gave me you. You were the best thing in my life." Her eyes shone. "I thought my life ended when Hawthorne forced this marriage, but in this fight I found not just survival, but love, true love." Before Caleb could reply, gunfire shattered their window. Vance's men, they'd come to torch the shack. Caleb and Clara fired back, defending their home. Just as hope faded, Sheriff Reed and half the valley rode in, neighbors, ranchers, farmers, united. They drove Vance's men off. The tide, it turned. A judge arrived, and Hawthorne admitted the game was rigged on Vance's orders. The courtroom buzzed. Clara's poised testimony, it earned even the judge's respect. Vance's empire fell, his land seized, his men locked up. That night the valley celebrated, music and laughter spilling out. Caleb found Clara under the stars. He held her close, whispering, "No more bets, no forced vows. Clara Ellis Thornton, I love you not because I lost, but because with you I've won." Tears glimmered as she smiled. "And I love you, Caleb. From shame, we built something real." Months later, with Montana spring blooming, Clara placed their newborn daughter in Caleb's arms. Her skin was soft, her eyes a blend of theirs. "What do we name her?" Caleb asked. "Faith," Clara whispered, "because she's proof love can grow in the toughest soil." Caleb kissed her forehead, his heart full. The cowboy who lost a bet had gained a family, a community, and a love for the ages. As the sun dipped over Willow Valley, Caleb and Clara stood together, baby. Faith between them, knowing they hadn't just survived, they triumphed. Well, folks, that's the tale of Caleb and Clara, two souls who turned a cruel bet into a legacy of love. If this story stirred your heart, give it a like, would ya, and subscribe to hear more tales of grit and glory from the frontier. Share it with a friend, one who loves a good yarn, and I'll see you by the campfire for the next one.